Hey friends, welcome to practice. Today's class is yoga for desk workers, or really just yoga for anyone who wants to counter this type of thing that we do all day long. So before we get started on the mat, let me tell you how to move closer to us online. Make sure that you're subscribed right here on our YouTube channel, that you're signed up for our weekly letter, which you can sign up for on our website, and that you're following us on Facebook and Instagram. So when you're ready, let's go. Alrighty. Let's get started in a comfortable seated position, which, spoiler alert, does not need to be on the floor. So you can always get yourself up in a chair, or if you want to get yourself onto the floor, you can always get yourself elevated on something so that the legs feel like they can descend down from the hips. And this is really important because we want to approach this from an upright seated position and not kind of like the roly-poly position that we often spend our days in at our desks. So find your pelvis, find your sitting bones, whatever those 2 points that press down into the ground. Wiggle yourself around a little bit so that you can find even natural sitting on the bones, front, back, left, right. And we want to feel that the low back presses forward, that the belly hugs back. So from the low back and from the low belly perspective, things are going like this, whoop, up. And so then you can feel that the chest is open, you can feel the shoulders set back, you can feel that the skull pulls back right on top of that. You can even use your hand to do that. Sometimes that's really nice. And this is the position that we'll approach a little bit of hand and wrist mobility work in to kind of counter the effects of typing all day. So keeping this chest nice and broad and open, and particularly when I say chest, I mean this front shoulder, chest, armpit region. That whole area should be nice and open. Feeling that, then taking the arms parallel to the floor. Whoop. Settle yourself again in your sitting bones. Find that nice upright position with the rest of the spine and chest. And from here, we'll begin to work out through the forearms a little bit. So the way we'll do that is we'll press the wrist creases forward and pull the fingers and the palms back to the face, like you're saying, talk to the hands. Now, soften the shoulders a little bit here so you don't feel like you're overly shrugging up or anything like that. The muscles of the arms might start to get warm, and if so, you just take breaks when you need to. Now we'll go back and forth between this and its opposite movement. So the opposite movement now, keep your arm bones nice and long, but now show off your rings. And from here, inhale, talk to the hand, and exhale, show off your rings. Inhale, talk to the hand. Exhale, show off your rings. Last one. And relax. Feel again your side waist grow up evenly long. Sometimes it feels good to kind of pull the legs into the pelvis in order to feel that kind of upright, really supported stature. Take everything into the middle, so it's almost like you're a candlestick going up. Slide your left hand down by your side, open that shoulder, chest, armpit region, and lift your right arm up to the sky. Take a little side bend stretch. Now breathe into your back body here. So every inhale, your back ribs start to open a little bit more. And inhale, come on back through center. Find that upright stature. Take your arms back out in front of you. This time, build fists with your thumbs inside and start to take your wrists in some circles. And other direction. And when you're ready to release from here, soften specifically the right hand down to the floor. Feel everything hug in and up. And then reach your left arm overhead, side bend over the right side of your pelvis. Keep swiveling that right elbow so that when the elbow is pointing, it points in by your side and not behind you or not like, you know, out like this or something like that. And then that's gonna be the mechanism that keeps that front chest armpit region open. Come on back through the center from here. And now we can begin to orient ourselves into a tabletop position. So roll on forward, knees underneath your hips, wrists underneath your shoulders. Here we'll begin to strengthen the wrist area. So next inhale, keep your fingers planted, but lift your wrist creases off the ground. Your thumbs may lift with them. And on your exhale, nice and lightly set the wrists back down. Inhale, lift your wrists up. And exhale, set the wrist down. Let's do that 3 more times. I lost track. Do one more. That's a good job from here. Now let's get out of this a little bit. Push back so your hips go to your heels. Take your big toes together. Sway your pelvis a little bit left to right. We'll work on some shoulder mobility next. And we can even kind of test it out here. So see, can you melt your heart even more down? Can you melt your forehead potentially down to the floor? And if not, it can float in space, or if you have like a block or, you know, like, I don't know, like a cushion or something around you, you can put your forehead on that. And then let's test it out. Can we land our elbows on the ground? I actually like to do this with my head lifted first. Land your elbows on the ground, walk them forward, take your hands together, and then bow your head down. And take your palms towards the upper back. So stretching out through the triceps a little bit. Ooh. Opening through the shoulders, the upper back. Work length into your triceps by stretching your elbow tips away from your shoulders. And at the same time, hugging the upper arm bones toward each other so that the elbow tips are not splaying wide away from each other. They're actually in a straight line out from the shoulder joint. And if anything, they're actually hugging towards each other. And you can feel how that even starts to target some muscles on the upper back. The shoulder blades back there, totally enmeshed in muscles. And those are the muscles that we're looking to target and strengthen here. Soften your hands back down to the floor. Then come back on up to a tabletop position, hands and knees. Feel that your belly button lifts up towards the back body. And feel that your ribs are a 3-dimensional unit, so that every time you inhale, you're not just opening the ribs on the front of the body, but you're also opening your side ribs and your back ribs as well. Working on our shoulder mobility, keep your entire standing body nice and still. Pick your right hand up off the floor and touch your right shoulder with it. Now we'll take some shoulder circles. So we'll take the elbow forward, then to the sky and back behind us and down to the floor. And we'll take those shoulder movements just a couple of times. Try to not open your torso for a twist here as you're taking the elbow open. The next time you come forward, switch your direction. So now you go back by your side waist first, around, forward, and down. We'll just do it a couple of times with straight arms. So now lengthen your right arm forward, lift your right hand up to the sky, back behind by your side waist and down to the floor. A second time. And as you take it forward, switch your directions. Down to the floor first, by your side waist up to the sky and forward. And now inhale, stretch your right arm up to the sky. We're going to twist open. Breathe vertical length into your spine here so that your side waists are evenly long. And then exhale, take your heart down to the ground. We'll take that twist 2 more times, but different arm variations. So now take your hands behind your head. Inhale, open your chest. And exhale, chest center, hand down. Take your right hand to your right heart. Just your heart, not your right heart. And then inhale, open for that same twist. And back down and release your hand. Good job. You ready for your second side? We're in a nice neutral tabletop position. We're trying not to move anything else. That's how we're isolating the shoulder and making sure that that work stays there. So pick your left hand up off the ground, touch your shoulder, reach your left elbow forward in space, then to the sky by your side and down. Take that shoulder circle a few more times. The next time it comes down, switch your directions. Then when it goes forward in space, nice long arm, we'll take a couple rotations with the straight arm. So here we go. Either direction is fine to begin with. And then after 2 rounds, switch your sides. Ooh, it's hard to hold the torso in position here. So now take it down. We're gonna twist open. I'm gonna actually tent my right fingers here just to get off that wrist a little bit. So inhale, open the left arm. Exhale, heart down, hand down. Now left hand to the left ear. Inhale, open. Exhale down. Left hand to the heart. Inhale, open. And exhale down. Get out of the wrist. Stretch your pelvis back to your heels. Walk your hands forward. Child's pose. You can take some full exhales out through the mouth. Get your face nice and soft in your forehead, your inner and outer eye creases, your jaw, your tongue. Then we can lift on up to a tabletop position, hands and knees, shoulders over wrist, hips over knees. We'll tuck the toes underneath without stressing out the face or any other part of the body. Push out through your fingers, hover your knees up off the floor, and then nice and easy does it. Press your hips high and back. Take your heels towards the ground. They don't have to reach there. The legs don't have to straighten, but we'll come to that upside down V position for downward facing dog. Push out through your hands a lot here. Full dimensional breaths into your entire rib cage, especially the back ribs, so that the back ribs are not collapsing here, but they're getting nice and full. Relax your head and neck completely. In your own time, you can begin to walk the feet forward into the hands or the hands backward into the feet. It's really all good, but we'll meet in a standing forward bend. So if you're a little bit tighter in the backs of your legs, you might actually like to step your feet wider or turn your toes in. You might like to not even have your hands try to reach down for the floor. That might be way too much. You can reach down for some furniture instead. That can be a good option. Not locking out through the knees here. Instead, getting the shin bones nice and vertical, kneecaps over the ankles, the backs of the legs lifting skyward.
time, pressing into the feet, rounding on up to a stand.
Here's where we'll meet with our feet down underneath our hips. Bend into your knees slightly so you can test whether or not they're pointing forward. And you rotate your feet in or out in service of getting the thigh bones pointing forward. Then press down through the feet, the heels, the ball mounds of the feet to take the legs towards straight. Pelvis anchored evenly between the two legs, neither tilting forward, which I'm modeling now, or scooping too far underneath, which sometimes happens when we're sitting down all day. Take your belly button back to the spine, up through the chamber of the ribs, and then lift your back ribs away from your pelvis and breathe into that area. Chest broad, skull back over the shoulders. Inhale, breath, reach the arms out to the sky, but not your ribs. Keep your ribs where they are. And exhale, slide the hands down by the chest. That can be a really positive motion for us after sitting all day. So inhale, reach the arms out and up. And exhale, hands together at the chest. Last one. Exhale down. We'll take a half sun salutation flow. We'll add a chair pose into it so that we can begin to strengthen the underside muscles, basically the seat muscles that tend to get really mushy when we're sitting all day long. And so what better way to strengthen our sitting muscles but chair pose? So as if you're gonna sit back into an imaginary chair, go ahead and bend into the knees. They point forward over their second toe, pelvis goes back, belly button in, back ribs full. You can take a bounce here. That's like my favorite thing to do with this because it can get kind of confusing for me. And the bounce ensures that you're working all parts of your legs, your feet, your spine evenly. And then also, it can help you get depth without it stressing you out. Build heat without it stressing you out. It's okay for the knees to track forward. Ooh, yeah, there it goes. Okay, stretch your arms. Another full breath in. On the exhale, we're gonna fold. At the same time, we're gonna take the hands to the low back, squeeze the elbows toward each other. And if it feels okay on your shoulders, interlock your hands, right thumb on top of left, and take the bind to the sky and overhead. So a little chest opener here. Soften the hands to the low back. Sprinkle the fingers down to the floor. Next in-breath, we'll find our halfway lift position. So we're all gonna be at a different height. We're just trying to get the spine to go out neutrally from the pelvis here. You can always bend your knees in service of that as well. Take another full breath in. And on your exhale, fold over your legs. Ground through your strong feet. Inhale, reach out and up to the sky. And exhale, he'll slide the hands down at the chest. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, slide the hands down. And again, we'll slide the hips down and back for chair pose. So it can be a little bit at a time. You don't have to approach the full pose at once. You can do your little bounces again if that was feeling nice. We want to feel the hamstrings engage here. We want to feel the buttocks engage here. Maybe you'll even work tomorrow like this. Who needs chairs? We can just pretend we have them. And exhale, fold. As you do that, take your hands to your low back.
Again, squeeze the upper arms toward each other. Relax through the back of the head so the back of the neck gets nice and long. And if you want, thread your fingers together. This time, left thumb on top of right. This is good. Soften your sweet hands down to your low back. Sprinkle the fingertips down to the floor. Inhale, breath, halfway lift position. And exhale, forward fold. Ground through your strong feet. Inhale, reach out and up to the sky. And exhale, slide the hands together in front of the chest. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. And this time, exhale, we're going down, way down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And on your exhale breath, hands down to the ground, step your feet back one at a time, downward facing dog pose. Push out through your fingers a lot, not so much your wrists. That'll get your shoulders working, stretching up towards your ears. Breathe into your back ribs here. Next inhale breath. Take your shoulders over your wrists for plank pose, top of a push-up. Soften the knees down to the floor. Look forward, lean your chest forward, but keep your belly lifting up. Keep your belly supporting you as you bend your elbows and lower down to the floor. Roll your legs in as if your kneecaps wanted to kiss each other. Anchor your tailbone towards the back of your heels. Try to feel yourself kind of plugged together on the front of your body. Like your joints were Lego pieces, they're all pulling in and clicking into each other, especially on the front body, which can kind of feel a little out of place or confusing here because it's so mushy to the floor. Now, we talked a little bit about those sitting muscles, the hamstrings, the backs of the legs that can get really mushy from sitting all day. So in order to strengthen them, we'll start to extend the hips. That means lifting your legs up behind you. That's what the hamstrings do really well. So we want to keep the tailbone going towards the backs of the heels here. And from here, have your hands by your side, your pinkies facing up. Do something with your head that feels kind of normal and good. I'm actually going to just pick my head up with my nose facing directly down to the ground. I'm going to notice if that changes any of the integration on the front of the body, reintegrate. Then using the hamstring and the buttocks muscle, lift the right leg up off the ground. Notice if this changed anything through the rest of the body and take time to reintegrate. That's really the name of the game in all these yoga poses. Everything we change, it'll do like a chain reaction. And we go through and we notice what happens and we get really integrated. Do the same thing with your left leg. So now both legs are lifted. Keep the tailbone flowing towards the backs of the heels. Lift the legs a little higher and now stretch the toes back. Now, feel the front of the body engage. Kind of wiggle yourself a little bit more forward because you can probably get longer than you think you can. And then keep your torso nice and three-dimensional as you start to lift your chest off the ground. Ooh, hello. Stretch your fingers up, your pinkies up to the sky. And now stretch your toes and your skull in opposite directions. Keep your kneecaps facing down towards the ground. A lot of times the low back will want to take advantage of its natural flexibility. We don't really want it to. It's not what it's really designed to do here. So in order to keep everything nice and stable, we want the legs neutral in the pelvis. That means kneecaps facing the floor. Good job. When you're ready, soften all that down to the floor. Relax. Whew. Sometimes our muscles can get really crampy, especially if we're in the middle of building our strength. Massage, take a break, come back to it. It's good. Okay, Okay, let's do that one more time. Start with your legs. You could do one at a time or both. Then your chest, your arms. Keep your tailbone going to the backs of your heels. Don't move your pelvis at all, but bend into your right knee and take your right heel to the booty. And same thing with your other leg. Oh, yeah. And then go back straight with the right leg. Straight with the left leg. Keep your legs this strong, but now ground them down to the ground. The kneecaps stay lifted, but the toenails are on the ground. Take your hands and tent them beside you. So we're in low cobra. Now we're working with the upper back. Open the chest, look up, and exhale, melt down. Keep your legs strong. Inhale, curl just the chest. Oh yeah, exhale, go down. Last one. Stay here, slide your hands back underneath your elbows, curl up a little bit more. Pull your pelvis back in space towards your heels. Child's pose. Pelvis to the heels, knees wide. If any of this is uncomfortable under your ankles or behind your knees, grab some pillows or some blankets from wherever they exist in your house and give yourself a little bit of cushion. And then stretch yourself down, forehead down to the ground. This is where we'll rest. This will be our final pose for our practice today. We'll just take advantage of being still, taking some deep breaths. Letting our mind do whatever it does, whether it's, feeling nice and refreshed and still, which can often happen after exercise, or if it feels a little bit more anxious, like the thoughts are going in a million directions. We're not trying to control what happens with our minds. We're just trying to stop the momentum. We're trying to stop the thoughts turning into behavior. We're kind of cutting it off right there, and so that we can then, it just naturally will tune up our behavior. We don't even need to really try so much. It'll just kind of happen on its own, that we'll find that there's more and more space between the thought that tells us to go do something and then the action of going and actually doing it. And then we'll see that our decision making becomes smarter. How we process events around us and the world around us becomes more intelligent and kind of less self-destructive. And so we'll spend another minute here just being quiet. In your own time, you can begin to walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Press into them. Come on up to a nice, comfortable seat. You can keep your eyes closed if that feels okay. When you come to a seat, if you're doing crisscross applesauce, you can cross your legs the other way from how we started our practice. And before we end our practice today, let's do a little seated meditation to tune up our senses, particularly our sense of sight. So blink your eyes open. Settle your eyes on the horizon, just nice and easy. And soften your face around it, so that the face is kind of the center of our nonverbal communication. When we soften everything, we get it nice and neutral, as if our Etch-a-Sketch has just been shaken clean. And what we want to do with our vision
is start to let all of the visual field enter into our system evenly. Most of the time, we're focusing our vision on a screen, on someone else's face, on anything really that's moving. And so this is a great time to practice being unbiased with what we take in. We allow our environment to be exactly as it is without it pulling our attention to any one specific thing. And so if you actually have things that are moving around you, like animals or kiddos, or even just like cars that you can see out a window, this can be a really fun exercise to practice letting the eyes be still, letting the vision be expansive while things around you are in motion. And so take in everything evenly, whatever is in front of you, in the periphery, so to the sides, above, below, even as if your vision existed without boundaries. In other words, even as if you could begin to sense and see what's behind you, what's outside of your current field of vision. And so this puts us in an inherently kind of neutral space where our attention is available for everything and isn't focused too intensely on any one thing, which I know it can often get like that over the course of our day, especially if we're spending our day sitting in front of a computer. And so I invite us to keep this experience active, the vision spreading and expanding wide as we end our practice and as we re-enter the narrative of our lives. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you right back here next week with a brand new home practice.